Welcome. It's great to see you all here this morning. Welcome to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Bonnie Rose, and we're going to start this morning by singing together the first Noel. Let us breathe deeply and continue to center our awareness into that inner space, that beautiful place that Joan brought us to with her good words. We relax, we let go, we let God as we listen to the words of our sacred reading.
A poem by Jalaluddin Rumi. A spirit that lives in this world and does not wear the shirt of love. Such an existence is a deep disgrace. Be foolishly in love, because love is all there is. There is no way into presence except through a love exchange. If someone asks, "What is love?" answer, "Dissolving the will." True freedom comes to those who have escaped the questions of free will and fate. This love path has no expectations. Are you uneasy riding the body? Dismount, travel lighter. Wings will be given. Be clear like a mirror, reflecting nothing. Be clean of pictures and the worry that comes with images. Gaze into what is not ashamed or afraid of any truth. Contain all human faces in your own, without any judgment of them. Be pure emptiness. What is inside that, you ask? Silence is all I can say. Lovers have some secrets that they keep.
And so we breathe again into that inner spaciousness, into that place of love that lives and moves and has its perfect being within each of us. And as we breathe, we feel ourselves relax. We let go of all of the trappings of this world, all of our shoulds, all of our have-tos, all of our expectations, all of our obligations. And we simply allow ourselves to be love right now. And in this perfect stillness, we remember the essence of pure love. That is the I Am presence. And let us breathe deeply into that love. And then exhale. Opening our eyes, loving what is as it is, and so it is.
Does it, darling? Take it nice and slow. Sink into the river of creation and just enjoy the flow. It's amazing what comes to you when you will consciously let go. So remember, easy does it, darling. Easy does it, la da da da. da da da, 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 da
Wasn't that some good advice? Wasn't it? What was that part about you're never going to get it all done anyway, so just relax? Yeah. Thank you. Let me just make a mental note of that right now. Oh, goodness. Well, I'm starting this morning with a story from our featured book this month, which is My Grandfather's Blessings by Rachel Naomi Remen, which is on sale in the bookstore for you if you'd like to purchase it. It's a great Christmas gift. It's a great Christmas gift about a woman who was born to atheists, who was raised a lot by her Jewish rabbi grandfather. I'm having trouble speaking. Anyway, it's a beautiful book with lots of stories about her life. And Rachel Remen she was a doctor for many years, and then she started working as a counselor and a healer, and working in hospitals and also seeing people privately. And in one of the stories that she tells in this book, she talks about one of her colleagues at a hospital that she was working at, and he was a priest. He was a Catholic priest. His name was Father Patrick O'Shea, right? And so she was having a conversation with Patrick, and he was I hesitate to say older gentleman in his 60s, because that's getting younger and younger, as we all know. But he had been doing his priest job for a while, his chaplain job for a while. But he told her the story about the first chaplain call that he made as a priest when he first got out of seminary. And he was working at a renowned hospital, and they sent him to go see this woman that was about to have major surgery. And he was gung-ho. He was going to go in there and make a difference. And he was armed and dangerous with all kinds of quotes of scripture and poems and things to say to this woman that was going to have surgery. And he sat down by her bedside, ready to go, ready to do some healing and some fixing. And she looked at him and she said, "Father, I don't know what to tell you, but I think I have this feeling that tomorrow at the surgery, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to die." And all of a sudden, all of that theology just flew out of his head. And he sat there like a fish gaping with his mouth open. He didn't know what to say. So he sat there in the silence, and the woman ended up taking his hand, and she shut her eyes, and she began speaking, and she started talking about her life and what was important to her, and her family and her children and her grandchildren, and she talked about her fears and her hopes and her aspirations for her life. And gradually, she talked for a while, and he said the whole time he wasn't listening to her. He was desperately seeking his mind for something comforting to say, seeking, what he knew about the Bible or St. Teresa of Avila or Jesus or anybody. It's like, throw me a bone, God, give me something to say. But the woman just kept talking, and gradually her voice slowed down and she went to sleep. And he let go of her hand and went out of the hospital room, and he was mortified. He said, "Oh my God, I went in there to help that woman and I didn't do anything." And he was so embarrassed that he didn't call on her again. She actually made it through the surgery, but he felt so badly about his lack of skill and expertise that he didn't call on her while she was in the hospital. So about a month later, he got a note, and he saw that this note was from this woman that he had failed to serve. And he opened it with fear and trepidation, and the note said, "Dearest Father Patrick, thank you so much for visiting me in the hospital. Everything you said was so wise and wonderful." And then she quoted him at great length of all the things that he had said or that she had heard. And he just had to laugh and put down the note and say, "Thank you, God." And I think the moral of that story about this priest, Father O'Shea, is that he got out of the way and God got to work. He fired himself, and he hired God. And that's the talk today. It's called hire as in employ, hire as in upper, God. Hire, God. I like saying that, don't you? Let's all say it together. Hire, God. And this time put a little hip wiggle in it like I did, okay? Hire, God. Good job, Joan. You're getting sassy down there. So yes, it's about hiring that highest part of ourselves to work through us when we feel like we don't know what we're doing, when we feel like there's too much to do. I gleaned this phrase about firing ourselves and hiring God from one of our board members. At the beginning of our board meetings, we have what we call as a check-in, and we sort of take a moment to reflect on how we're doing, and we share with the board how we're doing. And we find that it helps the meeting go more smoothly if we all sort of know what our starting place is. And one of our board members said, you know, I'm doing great. And you know why? Because I fired myself and I hired God. And then she read us this part of a poem that I'd like to share with you. It's called, I like the title, I Am Not in Control. Huh. I'll read part of it to you. I cannot control all people. Damn it, no. I cannot control our situation. Even when I want what is best, I cannot control the outcome. I cannot make people behave. I cannot make people believe. I cannot make people be strong. God alone knows the end from the beginning. God alone knows how things will turn out. I hereby fire myself from God's job, and I agree to see my fight for control as what it is. A screaming testament to my distrust. Do you not love that last line? A screaming testament to my distrust. How many of us have ever offered a screaming testament to distrust? Raise your hands. Be proud about it. I know I have. I probably do it every day. I probably did it in the car driving to church this morning. A screaming testament to my distrust. Oh, we humans, we are so amazing. So this message is for all of us, for any of us that has ever doubted the power and the presence and the love of God, that has ever felt like we need to control everything, that has ever felt like we can't get it all done, that has ever felt like there's just too much, that we're too stressed out, that the expectations on us are too high, that we're too imperfect trying to be perfect. This talk is to hopefully inspire all of us to perhaps let some of that go, to fire ourselves and to hire God. So let's talk a little bit about that firing process. I've had a revelation recently that will probably seem trivial to some of you. I've been doing a lot of hiking lately, doing long hikes with my dogs, sometimes 6 to 8 to 10 miles. And as an increasingly more avid hiker, I find that my feet are getting more tender. And I've decided that I'm no longer going to wear shoes that pinch. And I've tried, sometimes I'm getting ready for Sunday and I say, boy, it would be nice to wear a dress. And I say, but then I have to wear those shoes with that dress, and I put them on and I'm like, nope, sticking my foot in the shoe, pull it out right away because it pinches, and I refuse to wear shoes that pinch anymore. And I think that's a metaphor. I think that's a metaphor for refusing and saying no to those things that constrict our freedom, to those things that don't feel good anymore. You know, I've recently also discovered that this idea of not wearing shoes that pinch is just, as I said, a metaphor, and it extends to other areas of my life. I recently fired my dentist. In a very nice way. I was polite about it, but he was very glum and very gloomy and very pessimistic, and I think my teeth are pretty healthy. And I found somebody that had a more positive attitude, and so I wrote the dentist a little note and said, you know, I think we're not really a good fit, so sayonara. And it was, you know, again, this feels sort of trivial, but it's just that idea of Before I fired my dentist, I didn't even know you could fire your dentist. I thought once you got a healthcare professional, you were stuck with them for your life. It's kind of like a hair cutter. I hear people have trouble firing their hair cutters too because you develop this intimate bond. There's even a Seinfeld episode about that when Jerry fires his barber. But I didn't know that you could, and then I felt that I needed to take care of him, and his feelings would be hurt if I told him I was going to somebody else. So it took me a while to do it. And this is really like just such a human thing and such a confessional on my part about how much time perhaps we waste in ensuring that the whole world actually likes us. That the whole world is feeling okay and that we're responsible for the way this person, the dentist and the hair cutter and the veterinarian and the postal workers and everybody, we're so responsible for how everybody feels. And that stresses us out. And we're so responsible for trying to be perfect and trying to get everything done and trying to cover up our inadequacies. Those are the things that we are called to fire. Those are the things that we are called to let go. Those are the things that we are called to say, I just don't need you anymore. I'm going to step out of the way and let God work through me in a new and a wonderful and a powerful way. So I'm going to ask you a question, and you can ponder it now or you can take it home with you. But think of the metaphor of the tight shoes that pinch. Is there anything in your life that's pinching? In a bad way. Is there anything that's constricting you? Is there anything that's confining you? Anything that feels like it's too tight and you'd like to just be free of it? And it can be an outer condition that you choose to fire, or it could be an inner condition, an inner attitude, an inner habit. Those mental habits that we have just pinch us so badly sometimes. They are just like boa constrictors squeezing the life out of us. Except we're here now. We're here by divine appointment. So this is the opportunity to look at anything that might be pinching your life, anything that might be squeezing your life, any inner or outer habit that feels like it's constricting. And then say, you know what? I don't need to do this anymore. I'm going to let this go and allow God to show up in a new and a wonderful way. Does that sound like a plan? Excellent. So after service, by all means, please come up and tell me who's been pinching you or what's been pinching you. We want no unauthorized pinching in this church. Okay. And then there are those things that you wish you could fire, but somehow they're just like a Klingon. They just hang on no matter what, right? You know that saying, change your thinking, change your life, right? What if you can't? What if it seems impossible to change your thinking? What if your thought is just so stuck in there that it feels like you just can't let it go? For those of you who were here last week when I wore my fetching pajamas, which is part of my plan for greater comfort, let me tell you, it was really hard to put on real clothes today because I really got used to wearing those pajamas to church very easily. But anyway, for those of you who were here last week, I did that thing that I'm gonna repeat it now, where I sang a little bit of the Beverly Hillbillies theme song, right? And I won't go through the whole thing again, but then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude, and you all said, "Oil that is like gold, ecstasy." Good job. Now I'm going to do it again, but this time under no circumstances are you to say those words, oil that is black gold Texas tea, and you're not to think them either. All right? Then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude. Okay, nobody said it, but could you stop yourself from thinking it? Somewhat, yeah. Sometimes if you think of something else really hard, you can stop yourself. But that's the way our minds work, right? We are so used to worrying. We are so used to being stressed out. We are so used to saying this has to be done now and it has to be done by me. We are so used to taking responsibility for everything. We are so used to people pleasing that sometimes it feels almost impossible to change those kind of thoughts. I have a suggestion for you, something that worked really well once for me a long time ago, and I keep forgetting to do it, or it would work more if I remembered to do it. So years ago, when I lived in Manhattan, when I was a a nurse and an opera singer, as I like to say, with big shoulder pads and big hair. And when I talk about big hair, I have to insist that the congregation gives us a show of hair. Show me how big your hair was in the 80s, right? Okay, ooh, okay, awesome. I was in group therapy because of the shoulder pads and the hair, just need a little extra help. No, I was in group therapy for other reasons, trying to get my act together that was when I first started recognizing that happiness was unlimited and I could just change my thinking and change the way I reacted to the world around me and be totally happy. And there was this guy in the group. He was a wonderful man. I'll call him John. That wasn't his real name, but he was a businessman. He was a Manhattan businessman working in a high-power executive suite someplace, doing this great job. And he had this dream. He had this beautiful dream of wanting to quit his job and start a bed and breakfast in Vermont with his wife. And he was worrying a lot about it. And he seemed to not be able to stop worrying. So the therapist asked the group, to comment on his worrying. And I, innocent young thing that I was, raised my hand and I said, well, I don't know, maybe it's good that he's worrying. Maybe the worrying is helping him. Maybe the worrying is helping him come up with a solution. And that's what we all think most of the time about our worrying. Worrying seems to unconsciously feed something in us that, Eckhart Tolle says that worry believes that it helps. Worry believes that it is helping you. Worry thinks that it is trying to find you a solution. But really, worry is just static that's getting in the way of a solution. So when I raised my hand in the group and I said, I think that John's worrying is actually helping him, the therapist, her name was Ilka, she said, you know what? If worry is helpful, then it doesn't matter who worries. So John, I'm going to ask you to let go of your worrying. Let go of your worrying just for a week. You can pick it up again if you want to. And then Bonnie, since you believe that worrying is helpful, I want you to pick up John's worrying and worry for him every night for at least 15 minutes. I said, okay. All right, I'm on it. I'm a really good worrier. And so, a worrier warrior. So anyway, I every night for a week, for 15 minutes, I would sit down at my desk and I'd say, oh, that John, I don't know. He's got a great job. He's got a great salary. If he goes and does that bed and breakfast, all hell could break loose. He could lose everything. And then I would just start laughing at myself. Came back to group the next week. Ilka asked John, how are you doing? He said, I feel great. Thanks for worrying for me, Bonnie. It was so great to let all of that go. She asked me how I was doing. I said, I'm great too, because I realized how ridiculous all that worrying really was. And it turned out that John and I became friends, and when I had something coming up, like an audition or something that I was afraid of, I would say, John, I need you to do some worrying for me, because I'm going to let it go. You pick it up and you worry for me. And he would. And it was so effective. I don't know why I don't do it more often. I think just because I forget, We can do that with other things too. We can do it with criticism, right? I remember I did do this once with a practitioner student that I had in my former church, and she was really struggling with the idea of being a practitioner, and she didn't feel like she was good enough, and she was criticizing herself just without mercy. And so I finally said to her, you know what? I want you just to let go of the criticism for a week. I'm going to go home and I'm going to criticize you in my head like you've never heard before, and you won't hear it, by the way, but I'm going to do it. So she let go of the criticism. I sat home and I said, oh, that Mary, she can't pray herself out of a paper bag. And she realized that she was a much stronger practitioner without the self-criticism. And I realized once again that the self-criticism really had no power. It only had the power that I gave it. And because I wasn't really criticizing myself, I was just criticizing her and not really attached to the criticism, it had no power. Right? So that's another thing that I'm recommending for us all to try. If you have a habit of worry that you can't seem to shake, or if you have a habit of criticism that you can't seem to shake, or if you have a habit of anything that you can't seem to shake, see if there is someone in your life, someone that you trust, someone that won't worry in front of you or criticize in front of you, someone that you can say, just do this for me for 10 minutes a night, just worry on my behalf or criticize on my behalf. Ask them to do it. And if you don't have anybody in your life like that, how about God? How about Buddha? How about Jesus? Just say, help me, Jesus. Help me, Buddha. I'm struggling with this criticism thing. I need you to criticize that that you know what, who's giving me a hard time, or that criticize myself because I'm giving myself a hard time, just do it for me for 10 minutes. And you will find that letting go of criticism, letting go of worry, letting go of anything that is constricting, letting go of resentment, because all of those things are so constricting, letting go of all of that gives you so much freedom. And that is also, in a sense, a way of firing your smaller self and hiring the highest God. And as Ernest Holmes said, it's all taking place inside of us, all of us, all the time. And the highest God and the innermost God is one God. So give up your criticism to God. Give up your worry to God. Give up those pinchy shoes to God. Give up anything that's constricting to God, and allow that fullness to fill you. And as beautiful as that sounds, that's sometimes where some of us get stuck. Allowing that fullness, that beingness, that wonder, that amazement of miracles that is around us all of the time. Sometimes we struggle with receiving that. The longer I do spiritual study, I think that our biggest task is learning how to receive. And our biggest barrier to learning how to receive is that we feel that we are unworthy of receiving. But really, in truth, it seems that, I believe it was Esther Hicks and Jesus as well, talks about that the formula for receiving is to ask and believe and then receive. Asking, we ask for help. We ask for help with our worrying, or help with our criticism, or we ask for help releasing those situations that pinch our feet or pinch our bottoms or pinch our lives. We ask for release of all of those things. And then we believe. We believe in this magnificent mystical universe that is so amazing. How many of you enjoyed the rain that we had this week? Isn't it beautiful? It was so beautiful. I can tell you two beings that I know that did not enjoy it, and those were my dogs, Saraswati and Bartak, who needed to be coaxed outside to do their thing. And we have a koi pond as well, and it was pouring all day long, but I needed to go out and feed the fish because we're very particular about that the fish should get their meal. And I remember, knowing how much Saraswati and Bartak didn't like going out in the rain, I was like, well, if I feed the fish, they're going to come to the surface and they might get wet. There's a metaphor in that. I'm having a little trouble finding it, but I know it's profound. But I think it's because it's like we're like fish. We are immersed in the miraculous, and sometimes heaven rains down new miracles upon us, and we're so immersed in the miraculous that when we come to the surface, we're afraid of getting wet. But that is just part of the whole beauty and the power and the love that is constantly being poured into our existence. And you know where it's hidden? It's hidden in the ordinary. That's what's so amazing about it. With this hiking thing I've been doing, I've also been taking much better care of my health, and I've been doing a lot more cooking. And I was making pumpkin bread the other day, and I was making this very ordinary pumpkin bread, and I was putting all the ingredients together, and flour and egg and some pureed pumpkin and some nuts, and I thought about how it was going to nourish my body and what nutrients. I was thinking back to my sort of scientific background of trying to remember what nutrients was in what. And then I thought, okay, so God made us with these bodies that require certain nutrients. And then God put the nutrients in something that comes out of the ground and something that comes off of a tree, the nuts. And God even put the nutrients that we need in a chicken, an egg. An egg that comes out of a chicken. How amazing is that? All right. Oh, I'm not gonna. So, I'm out of practice. That's okay. So there may be new people here today. If you're new, let me see if I can do it. I'm out of practice. Thank you. Okay, that's the universal VCSL sign for giving birth or shooting an egg out of here. Whatever. Now, I was really going to try and keep it tame today after last week. Okay, so I was talking about the miracle of the universe. So God puts all of those things in all of these ingredients, all of these things that find their match in our bodies. And the other thing that astounds me, that continues to astound me, even though I live near the beach, the moon makes the water go back and forth. Who thought that up? That's like the elbow is connected to the knee bone. That's just crazy that the moon so far away makes the water go back and forth. And those are just two miracles that I've named. But if we just open our eyes and learn to see differently, we are immersed in miracles. And because we are immersed in miracles, we can believe in miracles, and we can believe in the universal support of God, because all of these miracles that I've talked about, the ocean going back and forth, the nutrients in our food, the miracle of our bodies, all of that is a form of universal support, destined to support that thing within us that we long to free, that we long to express, that we long to give to the world, that we long to share with the world. All of that is a way of supporting it. And so we've talked about ask, we've talked about believe, and now how do we receive? Well, there are many, many different ways to receive, but one of the ways that I'm working with most right now is the thing that I shared with you last week from Rachel Remen's workshop about looking at your life and actually seeking the quality in surprising ways in your life. Last week we talked about success. Look at your day from the end of the day to the start of the day and list all of the small successes that you had, and you will develop the consciousness of success. I'd like to suggest that you try that also with the idea of support. Taking, at the end of the day, take a few moments to look at your day and say, how was I supported today? You say, well, you know what, I'm sleeping in these flannel sheets and these flannel pajamas. If that's not support, I don't know what is. I'm wearing these fuzzy socks that feel so good and they're not pinching my feet. If that's not support, I don't know what is. I used my electric toothbrush from the dentist that I fired and I'm loving it. And if that's not support, I don't know what is. And our car supports us by getting us where we need to go. And our food supports us by building healthy bones and muscles. You know, so often what we do, so often when we are doing that screaming testament to distrust, we are looking at for all of the ways that the world does not support us. We're looking for all of the ways that the world has failed us. We're looking for all of the ways that the people in our lives don't show up the way that we think we want them to. We look at all of the ways that we have failed ourselves, like that story about the priest that I told you about, where he was just mortified that he hadn't showed up correctly for that woman that he was helping, right? But we can turn that around, because if you're looking for all of the ways that you fail, that you fail to support or be supported, that's what you'll see, that's what you'll find. But if you start to cultivate the eyes to see that we are abundantly supported always, in every single moment, you get that? Every single moment. Without exception, we are abundantly supported. We cultivate those eyes because it is not new conditions that we need. It is not new vistas that we need. It is new vision. We cultivate the eyes to see the support and the beauty and the power and the love. Oh my goodness, God, the amazing love that is always, always, always available to support us and free us. And that's why we can fire our lower selves and hire the highest, innermost God. It sounds like that's what that priest did in that story that I told about Rachel Remen, because the story in the book ends with them having a conversation, Rachel and the priest, and him saying, wow, you know, in some ways, I'm so glad that I'm no longer quite so young and so naive. And he said that now, when he goes to counsel people, he's still a chaplain. His father, Patrick O'Shea, is still a chaplain. When he goes to counsel people in the hospital, he shows up and he's prepared. But before he serves, he asks God, should I serve in this way? And he said, most often, God says yes. Sometimes God says no. That is not yours to do. But even more often, God says, you know what, Patrick? Step aside. I've got this one. What would it take to get out of those pinching shoes, to get out of those pinching habits, to get out of those old ideas, to delegate our worry and our concern and our self-criticism, to be able to ask for what it is we wish, to be able to ask for support, to be able to believe that the universe is abundantly supporting us right here and right now in every single moment with no exceptions. and to receive it fully, freely, and abundantly. What will it take? Only our willingness, and perhaps our prayer. So let us pray now. I turn within and just rest in this awareness of the goodness that is God, of the goodness that is life, of the goodness that is the life of everything. And I take a moment just to allow my mind to wonder and wander about this incredible universe that we live in. The millions upon millions of galaxies, the stars, the sun, the infinite nature of being, and the infinite nature of being in the tiniest, the smallest things, the grains of sand, the bark of trees, the fragrance of a flower petal. All of this has been given with such grace, with such love. All of this is God expressing itself in the miracle, in the mystery, in the wonder. And in this moment, I open to unify with that, to know that this life that is so magnificent, that is so full, that is so beautiful, that this is my life right here and right now. This is who I am. And as I say the words, I am, I know that I'm not speaking only of myself in the first person. I'm speaking of the universal I am that remembers, the I am that is the life of all of us. And so in this place, I remember here today that I am abundant, I am whole, I am free, I am filled with life and love because I am life and love. I am expressive, I am creative, I am peaceful, I am healthy. This I am is the truth of my being, and I step aside and claim it right here and right now. It is safe, it is easy, it is wonderful for me to let go of anything that no longer serves me. And so I let go of self-criticism or criticism of others. I let go of resentment, I let go of guilt, I let go of doubt and fear. I let go of anxiety and worry. And in its place, in this spaciousness, I just open this greater place for accepting the wonder and the love and the support that is love itself, that has been brought to us by Spirit, by God, by love. And so I say yes to it. I welcome it, I embrace it, I allow it to embrace me, and I allow it to do its perfect work through me in all ways. Once again, we collectively remember that this universal support is available in every single moment. And that all we need to do is simply be willing to receive it and to pray, to shift our thinking, to open ourselves up, to always seek the new in everything. We live in an infinite universe that is always expressing, and I am so grateful to be part of that. So grateful for my life, so grateful for the life of the center, so grateful for the life and the expanded life that I know occurs as a result of our spiritual work this morning, not only through the words and through the listening and through the sharing, but through the music and through the fellowship and through the simple synergy of us being together. I bless our time together, and I name it very good, very helpful, very life-enhancing and affirming. I bless this teaching, for it is so wonderful, as all teachings are wonderful. And I bless all paths to God, churches, temples, mosques, and ashrams, all paths. And I bless atheists and fundamentalists too, because everyone is a blessing. And so overflowing with this blessedness, overflowing with this love of creation, overflowing with this I am presence, I simply release this word into the mystery of the law, letting it go and letting God. And together we say, and so it is. Let's do our affirmations. Please repeat after me. I am held in Spirit's holiness, divinely guided by wisdom, courage, and love. I am always connected. I see God in everything. I create joy on earth as I share my blessings. Thank you for my life. And so it is.